Hi, welcome back to another vlog for another week. This week we are continuing with our ways to improve or expand the sophistication, complexity, and grow the proficiency level for students in speaking and writing. So we started this 2 weeks ago looking at speaking and writing rubrics and how they're broken down into the three categories of word, sentence, and discourse level if you're in the WIDA world, and very similar categories if you are in a non-WIDA state. We've talked about the word level. Last week we started talking about the sentence level. There are so many great strategies at the sentence level as well, and I think it's one that we have many missed opportunities on, which is why I wanted to highlight that one for 2 weeks in the vlog. So this week I took some excerpts from one of our online courses, from a Content Teacher's Guide course, where we had a visiting speaker, Miss Katie Toppel, who is a teacher, elementary ESL teacher, and she posts tons of great ideas on Twitter. So I will put her Twitter handle in the email notes as well, so you can follow her, because she'll continue to share great things for you. But she created a couple videos for the online course for me around sentence patterning. And I think it's a very powerful strategy K through 12, especially for your early literacy folks in the beginning. And then, as we discussed last week, how you can then take that same idea from proficiency level 1 to proficiency level 6 and just continue to modify and tweak and grow the language levels and your models to match where your students are and their goals. So please listen to Katie as she explains sentence patterning charts and shows you a few examples. While you listen, the challenge I give for you is to think about how you can take this idea and then make it work with what we said last week, where instead of giving just one pattern, how could you tweak this to provide various patterns to meet the different proficiency levels? So if your sentence patterning chart may be targeting a level 2 with some simple sentences or some expanding sentences, and then what might it look like to change it just a little to target a level 4? How could you add some complexity into the same type of sentence to give students a challenge to stretch further? So think about that while you're watching.
Hi, my name is Katie Toppel, and today I'm going to talk about one of my favorite strategies for supporting language development, which is sentence patterning charts. What I love about sentence patterning charts truly is how flexible they are and how many different ways they can be applied. The basic gist is that you set up a chart, and along the top you have different categories that would put words in the correct order for a sentence. Typically, you can include articles, adjectives, nouns, verbs, adverbs, and prepositional phrases. That's a pretty typical order to set up the chart, but truly you can use less than this, or you can adapt the type of sentence you want students to complete. You just have to put the different parts of speech in the order that you want. And that's how you would establish your chart. Color coding the different types of words is very helpful. I always consistently use the same colors for the same parts of speech, so my adjectives are always orange. When you introduce a sentence patterning chart, you can present it to the class with your categories already filled in, or you can present it to the class with your categories empty, or maybe one category is filled in and you elicit their help to fill in the rest. So the more words they come up with to add to the chart, the more ownership they have, the more engaged they're going to be because they have had a role in creating it. When I use sentence patterning charts in kindergarten, I tend to add more visuals as opposed to all the words, because kindergarten students are still learning to read. So this chart has sight words that they've already learned, I, see, the, and then they have colors to pick from, different objects they might see in the sky, and then they have to connect with either in the night sky or in the day sky. So they're connecting to their content knowledge, but they're putting together a sentence where the words are in logical order. They're using adjectives, color adjectives to describe the noun, and they're just building a sentence. So rather than I see a sun, they're saying I see the yellow sun, and they're telling in which part of the day. And so they're able to demonstrate content understanding with a complete sentence that has just more complexity or more elements than they might do on their own. This is another example of a kindergarten chart where all of the clothing items are pictured. So they're not written words, but they're just images. So they're more likely to be able to recognize them and understand them. And they're pairing different types of clothing with different types of weather. This was a chart that I used with fourth graders. And in our language curriculum, 2 of the vocabulary words were predator and prey. Now, in my opinion, those words for the particular students that I was teaching were very basic, and I didn't feel that they were challenging enough. So we used the sentence patterning chart to have students come up with descriptive sentences about different animals, and they helped me contribute to the words that are on the chart. And then we did an activity where I had all my students write a sentence, and then one student at a time got to come forward and indicate their sentence using the sticky notes. And then they read their sentence aloud. And then the rest of the group, we all read their sentence aloud. And then the students that were at their tables had these 2 response cards. One said prey and one said predator. And they had to decide based on the word choices of the student who came forward if they were describing a predator or if they were describing prey.
I hope as you watched, you got some great ideas about how you might take those patterning charts and then use them as a tool for differentiation by varying your sentence patterns depending on the proficiency level of the students in front of you. Also think about how you might take this idea of sentence frames, leveled sentences, sentence patterning, and different models and add them to your content area anchor charts. If you have anchor charts in your room where you're highlighting the vocabulary and key concepts for something you're working on in math or science or language arts, how might you add the sentence level to your chart so that you are encouraging students to refer back to it as a model for their speaking and then eventually their writing? So here are a few examples of ones I've seen. Again, some of these have just one level being targeted, and some have a couple options where you might see a few different levels being represented, trying to push students a little higher in their language development. So let's take a look at those. Thank you for joining us again this week. Feel free to do the download that has some pictures of different anchor charts that we've seen online or in our workshops with English Learner Portal, where people have created them while they're with us. Take a look, see what you think, and then I would love if you create some sentence patterning charts or some sentence level enhanced anchor charts that take a picture and send it along. And even better, take a video with students interacting with those tools and be an example of how it works. I hope you'll share, and I hope you'll try and let us know how it goes. We will talk to you again next week.